Welcome back, peeps, to the wonderful episode of the World of Ted, where we explore how single Latter-day Saints can learn, live, and love truly enjoyable dating. Got another article here from Exponent, and haven't really read this one all the way through. I started reading a little bit at the beginning, and I thought, this looks a little bit interesting. So let me just go ahead and call this up. And of course, since it's Exponent, we're going to take what's being published here with a grain of salt, because they don't always publish material that is in full support of the brethren. So here we go. Exponent and the guest post entitled, Things I Wish I Knew as a Single Latter-day Saint, Ramona Morris. So as you can see, published in October of last year. So a year ago. That's more recent than a lot of the articles we've been reviewing here on the World of Ted. And let's just scroll down and get into this. I never wanted to get married. I never wanted to get married. I never wanted to get married. So then why did you get married? I was just, if you don't want it, don't do it. I mean, before joining the church. Okay, so Ramona is a convert. Just before my 24th birthday, I'd always stood firm that marriage wasn't in my plans. When most girls were crushing on boys, I had my life planned out to the smallest detail. Well, there's a mistake right there. Because all you're doing is you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Because you're going to get disappointed, right? Yeah, everyone's going to get disappointed. So you make plans that are too detailed. You're setting up this expectation that your life's going to work out X, Y, Z. And when it comes out, TQL, instead of X, Y, Z, you get all flustered and have this emotional experience that you really could have just avoided just by not setting the expectation to begin with. I would become a reporter who traveled all over the world looking for amazing stories. I made several phone calls to fertility clinics to find out how I could become a mother without needing to sign my life away by something as boring as marriage. Honey, what are you doing with the fertility clinic? Seriously, it's like, the way to do this, okay, seriously, if you don't want to do it with the marriage route, okay, and obviously this was before you became a convert, so, if you didn't want to go the marriage route, why are you paying somebody to get what you want? Right? A fertility clinic, you're going to have to pay them something, right? So, because, that's what they do, right? They're having access to sperm that you need, and so that you can have the child, and they're not going to give that to you for free. You have to pay for that. So instead of doing that, why don't you just go be a prostitute, and then you get paid for somebody's little swimmers. So you just okay, but again, that's not the way you should go, because we all understand covenant life has blessings that the non-covenant life doesn't have. But of course, that was before you became a convert. So here we go. Years later, my life plan hasn't worked out too well. Join the club. We have jackets. I've traveled a bit, fell in and out of love with the bad boys who were no good in my life. Of course, because you've got that natural mindset that we talk about here on the program. Given up my dreams of becoming a journalist. Wow. Why did you give up your dreams of becoming a journalist? Is it something you still wanted to do? One thing that's changed a lot is my views on marriage. Now, I'm not saying I'm out here looking for Prince Charming to sweep me off my feet and we gallop off to the nearest temple to be sealed for time and all eternity. But I can say I've gone from abhorring the thought of marriage to actually considering it a little more than I thought I ever would. Okay, that sounds promising. Still, in recent years, I haven't been able to enjoy dating. There are reasons for that. Let's get into this. There is so much pressure on young Latter-day Saints to find the one, pop out a few kids, and raise their families in the gospel that even the most innocent of conversations between friends can alert those pushy elders whose sole purpose is to rush us rebellious single saints down to the nearest courthouse and off to the nearest temple. You're dealing with a cultural phenomenon here. We've talked about this before on the program. You're looking at this conversations that are the result of, a culture that's centered around being married with kids. And so when you're centered around being married with kids, that's what you need to have in order to belong inside that culture. And we all have an inherent need to belong. Too many of us are just going with the flow and not actually acting with intention. We're not living with intention, living by conscious choice. We need to do more of that if we're going to change the culture to something that's more Christ-centered. This is the thing that just boggles my mind. It's like we have this doctrine that's centered around Christ, but yet the culture is not centered around Christ. How screwed up is that? We're never going to change the culture to something that's more Christ-centered unless we start making conscious choices. And as I've said before, I see us moving in that direction, but we've still got some work to do. Let's see. I first felt the pressure when I attended a YSA temple trip in 2018 in the Dominican Republic. I convinced myself I was not on the trip to find a husband and focused on teaching a dating workshop and preparing myself to receive my endowments. Still, I received messages inquiring whether I was searching for a potential companion on the trip or if I planned to waste the opportunity to be around so many other young single adults. Again, these messages you're getting are from people who are responding to the culture. And when you get this, you need to realize what's going on and just come to an understanding of, hey, this is how I'm going to be. This is how I'm going to act. I'm acting with intention. When I visited Idaho, Utah months later, the pressure followed. Now in the Mecca for dating for Latter-day Saints, I was expected to return home with a viable candidate. Again, responding to the culture. I wish we taught young single adults the importance of being alone, discovering who they are and becoming the best version of ourselves before seeking out our eternal companion. I wish we'd stop guilt-tripping those of us who choose to focus on our education over finding someone to love. Okay, we got to stop right here. First of all, the importance of being alone. You really want to be alone? Don't get me wrong. I mean, I get what you're saying here about, proper preparation and doing the groundwork to assess compatibility. I'm not against that at all. But this idea of becoming the best version of yourself before seeking out an eternal companion, honey, Ramona, sister, I got news for you, okay? And I got news for everyone else that's listening. You cannot become the best version of yourself without your companion. That is truth. Part of the reason why eternal marriage is a part of our eternal journey, so it's not just about this life in this world, but about life in the world to come, in the eternities to come. Part of the reason why eternal marriage is a part of that journey is because it enables us to become our best selves. It enables us to become, enter that state to where we can achieve our fullest potential in the eternities. That's why it's a part of the plan. So, this idea that you become the best version of yourself before you seek out an eternal companion is just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. We need to get away from that, right? It's not about, because this is actually related to the idea of you're wanting a top shelf dude, right? You want a top shelf companion, and you got to get away from that and just focus on good enough. Because if you're focused on top shelf, the chances of you actually succeeding are so minuscule. Because how many people are actually top shelf? The proportion of people who are top shelf is small. The proportion of people who are less than top shelf is large. So your proportion of failing is large if all you want is top shelf. You've got to start focusing on good enough. You've got to start accepting the truth that you're living in an imperfect world with imperfect people. So there's going to be conflict. There's going to be incongruencies. There are going to be things you have to work out. And there's going to be things you're going to have to be patient with because people being imperfect are going to have issues of one kind or another. So, I'm not opposed to the idea that we should strive to be the best version of ourselves. But at the same time, we've all got to come to an understanding of, good enough is really the bar for acceptability and not top shelf. I wish we'd stop guilt tripping those of us who choose to focus on our education over finding someone's love. See, here you're just responding to the culture. You're responding to the culture, and you're not taking a step back and realizing this is the influence of the culture upon you. And until you step back and realize what's going on, you'll never truly live with intention and get the joy that comes out of life by living with intention. My biggest wish is that we would stop the culture of marriage shaming. The culture is much deeper than that, honey, right? Because again, it's not about what the culture's doing. It's about what the culture is centered on. You know what I mean? It's the belief that unless someone is married, that they won't be happy. That's how you're interpreting it. What it really is the belief that unless someone is married with kids, they don't really belong in the group. That's what you're feeling. It means that some of us don't get excited by weddings or engagements, but just feel immense anxiety knowing that unless we have someone to love as well, that any communication that doesn't cheer for a quick marriage allowed us is seen as jealousy and bitterness. So even as I approach my 29th birthday next year, I recognize the importance that finding myself and jumping headfirst into marriage isn't a massive timeline that I need to undertake to make someone else happy. Wow. So you think this is all about making someone else happy? Honey, you should be getting happy out of this too. Get you some happy, woman. I mean, if you're not getting your own happy, then something's not quite on here. Sure, it means people will probably stop throwing the bouquet and hand it to me personally in hopes that my dream guy will be right around the corner. It may mean I have to travel some more to find myself. It may even mean I might never get married in this lifetime. What it doesn't make me is bitter, unafraid, or unmoved by love. It just means that for right now, I'm just living my life differently. And it looks like that's the end of it. Ramona is a sassy day saint from the small Caribbean island of Barbados. Oh, Barbados. Yeah, okay. That explains the trip to the DR. In her almost 4 years as a member, she's dealt with the good, bad, and in between of being a convert to the church. Her goal is to live the gospel as sassily as she can. Follow her on Instagram. All right, so, what can I say here? It just means that for right now, I'm just living my life differently. Well, I'm glad that you've got, this idea that you're going to live your life how you want to live it. There's certain advantages and enjoyments that come to life when you take on that attitude. At the same time, I think we need to understand that you're responding to a culture that you haven't completely identified or come to terms with. Okay, it's not about marriage shaming. It goes deeper than that. Again, it's about what the culture's centered around. And until we start changing the culture, and that is something that's going to take everybody, right? Because everybody participates in perpetuating the culture. It's not just singles. Our married friends, our married brothers and sisters in the church, they also help to perpetuate this culture of marriage shaming, as you call it. But I call it a culture that's being centered on being married with kids. And until we start embracing a culture that's centered on Christ and discipleship and keeping all the covenants that you can, you're going to continue to feel this friction, this dissonance, this mismatch, right? Because you're trying to belong to a group that conditions belonging on something that you, by definition, do not have. And that is the problem. And that is why we need to get away from this culture that's being centered on marriage and kids and getting a culture that's centered on Christ. Because we can all be centered on Christ, whether we're married or single. We can all be disciples. We can all make covenants. We can all belong in that group. And so that's where we need to move the culture to. And until we do, you're going to continue to see this type of friction that comes out. Now, there are ways to navigate within that culture. and actually still feel good about yourself. We talk about that here on this program, The World of Ted. We talk about it on the Join the Journey radio program. So, get into that, because we talk about all this stuff, understanding the fundamentals of dating, understanding how to be good with you on the inside so you radiate a more positive energy, how to just change your thinking so that you actually get rid of the barriers that are preventing you from feeling good about yourself as you are. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I keep saying this stuff over and over again. So it's just like, I don't know what else to say. So that's the end of the article. And so that's all we got for this episode of The World of Ted. Sure to come back next time for another wonderful episode in which we discover, we learn, how's it go? Which we discover how Latter-day Saints can learn, live, and love truly enjoyable dating. See you next time, peeps.